Welcome, it's Howard from HDS Electrical, and today I'm going to show you how to change a simple switch with a dimmer. Now we tend to prefer very light V-Pro dimmers, mainly because we've been through a lot and they're the best I've come across, especially for get out of jail. If you've got some odd things or a mixture of things to dim, different LED loads like maybe strip and downlights, under cabinet lights, things where you got different loads, then these are the best. We fitted Xano are good, but they're not quite as good as these in my experience for doing different loads. So I got my V Pro, I got my switch. It's quite a simple switch. We have back in the day, back in 10 years ago, labelled it switch wire, labelled the feed, labelled other things in there. So first thing we've got to do is check it. Now we've already killed it, we've already isolated it, because we've got Adam changing downlights as we go, but I'm just going to check it all again. Check properly, use proper prover. One thing I always like to do is check my tester hasn't run out of battery midway through testing. So in case you wonder why I do that at the start and the end, because it might be fine at the start, but then if the battery dies, now I've gone, oh, that's dead. Then I get a shock, but I mean, I know at least the battery isn't dead, so at least I can test the tester, in a sense, not in a proper proving unit sense, but I'm sure we all do that, don't we? With our proper proving unit. I'd like to know what percentage of people in the electrical industry actually have a proving unit. So I have one. I would say I use it regularly, but that would be a lie. You should use it regularly, supposedly. So here's BG switches. Fit a lot of BG stuff purely because we have a very low failure rate. Fitted a few things over the years, started with MK. Their sockets, I'm going back 10 or 11 years ago, were constantly failing. On one on every job almost would have a socket failing, so I quickly moved off them. Fit BG. Now BG have a very unusual light in that switch, in that it's not round, it's square. Actually allows you to get more cables in, which is great if you know what you're doing. If you don't, it can be a bit of a pain. So what I used to do back in the day, and still do, is actually double over the end, but not squeeze it all the way shut, leave it a bit wider, and that way, when it fits in, the screw goes in and actually pushes it to both sides, and bites on both sides, and stops it popping out one way or the other. If you've got multiple cables, it's not always easy, but that is what we've done. Now, new one. One criticism I would say I've got of V Pros is, and a lot of dimmers, they have a rubbish connection. Tiny little stupid holes. If you've ever tried getting 3 cables in one of them, you know the pain, man. You know the pain. Also, if you're a DIYer or a homeowner trying to change it, as I found out from my mate Chippy Pete the other day, the connections aren't always the same. Don't think that the connections, even from dimmer to dimmer, he changed from one dimmer to a V Pro and didn't realise the connections were in a different order. You gotta check which is your common, which is your L2, which is your L1. In this case, common is on the right hand side. That was the one on the top of the switch. L1 and L2 in this instance don't matter. If you mess them up, it's still going to work exactly the same. However, on other things, it might just not make it switch properly. If you mess up the common with the others, I think, although I never really thought about it properly, I think it'd just be permanently on. So if you change it and your lights are permanently on afterwards, you've definitely crossed up the common and something else. But yeah, I've never properly thought about it, because I've never tried to wire a switch wrong. So let me know, hit me up in the comments section if you actually know. Obviously if you mix around strappers, these two L1 and L2 are called strappers, and they're two-way switches from one side of the room to the other. I don't believe in two-way. It matters if you've got, say, 3 switches with an intermediate, then it matters, and you start getting things like middle one turns it on, then bottom one turns it back on, middle one won't turn it off, and you've probably all played the game where you've messed up a 3-way switch and you're like, oh, this doesn't turn it off, that one turns it off, when that one turns it off, now this one turns it on, then that one won't turn off. That's where you've messed those two around. So it's easily done and it's easily fixed. I've definitely done it myself over the years, particularly with intermediate switches. So they are meant to have L1, L1, L2, L2 and they cross or go straight. Sometimes they've got L1, L1 and L2, L2 rather than L1, L1, L2, L2. So yeah, I messed up my share of intermediate switches, but if you got the other two ends right, it's just a case of swapping them over in the intermediate, turn it back on. Does it work right? Yeah. Does it work wrong? No. Do the third method. There's only really 3 ways you can wire an intermediate switch.